Welcome back to the City Current Radio Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're honored to be with our good friend, our longtime City Current partner, and someone who is doing a lot of good for our community. We're here with Jeff Savage. He is with Metro Construction. And Jeff, let's start. How are you doing, buddy?
Doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
So Metro Construction, as I mentioned, longtime partner in City Current. You do amazing good for our community. You're literally helping to build our city and renovate historic buildings and the whole 9 yards. But let's start with a little backstory. It's a family business. Give us some background on Metro Construction.
Well, in July, we'll be celebrating 40 years in business. And so our dad, Joe Savage, founded Metro in 1981 with his brothers. And after they experienced pretty explosive growth, they decided to split up their companies and go their separate ways. But Savage Brothers Painting is still in business to this day. And Savage Construction, the home builder, is still in business as well. Metro started off as an interior specialties company. And then about the early to mid 90s, we became a general contractor and took off from there and never looked back. And so today we do all commercial, no real residential work, but anything commercial from retail to restaurant, education, institutional, if you name it, we can do it. Design, build, out of the ground, renovation, whatever you need, we can do.
And I think that is something that really puts you on a lot of different paths, if you will, in terms of the small projects, and it can be very small to the obviously very large custom build and schools and huge buildings and everything in between. Talk about the scope in that regard, and then also to some of the things that really do separate you out. And I'm thinking the attention to detail, the fact that you control a lot of the main pieces when it comes to the finishing and the fine touches that people see. And so talk about that aspect of the scale and the differentiators, if you will, for Metro Construction.
Sure. What we feel like makes us unique and different, our clients have reinforced this belief, is that our attention to detail from the budget very beginning and producing what we have now been told enough times is truth in pricing to develop a full comprehensive budget to where clients typically aren't dealing with change orders. And the dirty truth is we hate change orders. The ideal situation is to get a well thought out plan and scope of work and just go build the project. Now, if we find something crazy, there's obviously unforeseen conditions in our industry, but generally speaking, we like to do turnkey projects, start to finish, full supervision, project management. And having my brothers, Ryan and Matt, here as partners is also what we feel like adds a lot of value, because clients aren't dealing with employees, they're dealing with owners. And we don't have to go up the ladder to get decisions approved or decisions made. We can make a decision in the best faith of the partnership and the best faith of the client and keep going.
Talk about what the pandemic has meant to you all, because in a way, it's kind of the yin and the yang. It's self-reflection on your end and personal development, but it's also too, businesses are realizing, wait a second, the employees are out. Now's the perfect time to renovate. So when they come back, we're ready to rock and roll. So share a little bit of the yin and yang on your end.
Well, it's funny you mentioned it. I was looking at even my workload of pricing, and in January of last year, it was quite high, February quite high, and then March hit, it was average. And then by April, I only sent out 3 prices because I only got 3 price requests. And it was quite a scary time. And then something interesting happened in May. Clients started to pivot. They started to see that although this was tragic and upsetting, they knew that it was going to end one day. So everyone from News Channel 3 down at WREG decided to pull the trigger on a major renovation. Lipscomb and Pitts Insurance. We're actually about to start over there. We're very proud of that project and relationship, and going to do a tenant upgrade over there.
And you did one of our other ones before too. So you've been a long time partner with that project.
Yeah. And one of the beauties of working in an unoccupied space is safety. We take safety very seriously. Everything from paint fumes to trip hazards to dust inhalation, all those things that can be a big risk factor. We sleep better at night knowing there's not employees wandering through the work zone or checking on the progress and potentially getting injured. So we're very proud of our safety record, and we're very, very protective of it.
That's actually a really good point. Elaborate on that, because when you look at the timing of this, like you're talking about, okay, the employees are out there working remotely from home. Now really is the best time to go ahead, and whether it's a restaurant and getting it tooled up, a business, a school, now is really good timing. And so it's a little counterintuitive, because you think, wait a second, I was from home, but yet to your point, the pandemic is going to end. Things will resume at some point. Now is the best time to go ahead and put those on the path. Talk about kind of your workload, because right now you mentioned the other day that you've gone through a tank of gas just driving around working on these projects. So in other words, things are picking back up. What are you seeing in that regard in terms of the uptick of the projects right now and what the future holds for 2021?
Right now, Memphis is blessed and always has been blessed by being a shipping hub. And between the river, the rail, the road, and the runway, their industrial properties in this town are flying off the shelf, so to speak. And so our role is to sit down with the brokers and potential tenants and help them hash out a deal of what the landlord is willing to invest to what the tenant ends up needing. So our goal on the pricing side for sure is to figure the cost for what is a fair split between landlord and tenant. And these people are signing deals quickly. They want to be open. They want all the work done before they bring in employees. So a lot of the distribution, medical, even some recreational stuff. A large fitness group is about to come into the market for its shipping distribution. And so it's very exciting to see. I know retail is heartbreaking. I know restaurant is heartbreaking. But I've got great faith in the American dream and the American spirit, and I have full faith it's going to come back with a roar.
What are some of the trends that you're seeing on your end? And obviously it's going to vary widely between, like you said, the distribution, the restaurants, the retail, the office space. But what are some of the trends, whether it's colors that you're seeing that they're picking, open designs? What are just some of the things that you're starting to see as trends?
That's a great question. A lot of companies, I feel like here in town especially, are focusing on culture, and there's a mild to average expected shift due to COVID. So we're seeing a few more private offices, less open concept. We're seeing more separated workstations when companies have to have workstations. But if you have the square footage, it's ideal to use it. Where folks don't have the square footage, I talked to a good client the other day. He said 1/3 of his workforce isn't going to come back to the office. But he said those are his senior captains who have earned their stripes. They've produced a repeatable, good product. They hit their numbers. And he has full faith in their ability to do their job from home. It's the younger folks or the newer employees who aren't as familiar with the culture. He wants them in the office 1 week on, 1 week off. So really it's a cultural shift. And also too, we're seeing a calmer, I don't want to say malaise, but a more measured approach to management styles. I think we're seeing less bell ringing, if you will, in sales departments. We're seeing a lot cooler, more relaxed environment. And I think that's good for people's overall mental health, especially in light of the stress of COVID. And it's a nice reprieve to see versus a high intensity workplace.
I know on your end, to that regard, you've been very intentional about just focusing on self-development, looking at, even for Metro, kind of enhancing the branding. So you've taken a lot of time, especially within this, to really kind of upcharge and recharge yourself, and also to make sure you're growing in the right direction. Talk about for you personally how you've been developing.
Yeah, so in a lot of conversations with my wife and my brothers and my dad, this pandemic has brought some negative or positive opportunities depending on who and how you are. I know Bryson DeChambeau, the PGA golfer, very famously got ripped during COVID. So I very similarly, on a self-development side, have really looked into my day-to-day performance, my day-to-day metrics, and then really looking at our company's data and seeing what lessons we can learn from that, from the historical data of everything from repeat business to budget performance to all these key performance indicators that I didn't really buy into, honestly, until I looked at it, and the data really reinforced our values. It did that more than anything. We didn't see any glaring changes we need to make, but there were a few tweaks along the way we feel like we can do to help us be more agile as we go forward. So looking back at data, measuring myself against myself, turning the news off, journaling more, meditation in the mornings, these things have been very helpful to keep me sane in a world that feels like at times it's going insane.
What's a aha moment, a light bulb that's gone off? I mean, you mentioned the data and looking at it and reinforcing your values. What's been something either, that you've read or a quote or something that you found that you thought this really does kind of give me a renewed energy, renewed focus, puts me on kind of that path?
Recommendation from Andrew Gieselman was Deep Work by Cal Newport. And he's a bit of an academic, but the premise of the book is very focused work. And in today's world of social media and our phones interrupting our lives to no end. It talked about ways of setting in little hacks within your personal life to shut out the noise and focus on work. And truth be told, my output is higher and my work hours are less. And clients feel it. My wife and kids are experiencing it. I'm not working at home as much. My quality time in the office is very high quality. And truth be told, I've really shut out a lot of the noise, and I think I feel happier for it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's such a great lesson on just intentionality, discipline, focus. And I think, now more than ever, we're inundated with so much, whether it's news, negative energy, just all those things that are just kind of pushing on us. And the more you can create that safe space and really be laser focused with your time, you reap the reward, and your family does too. Talk about on your end, just collaboration. I think you've been on the show before talking about how with the city and county and, whether it's the code enforcement and all these different people, but really the energy has changed in that regard as well for our community for the better, to be more collaborative. What are you seeing on that front in terms of the community coming together, collaborating, especially within the construction industry, to help move our city forward?
Well, I appreciate you asking that question, because I'm very proud of our code officials. There was a bit of a bump or a delay back in the fall when they implemented the online permit system, but to the credit of the inspectors in the field, still answering the phone, showing up, wearing the mask, being safe, and our plan reviewers being more transparent. They're more easily received by email, which it may sound crazy to say, but if you could imagine every contractor in town emailing you about every single job, that could be overwhelming to anybody. And I think code has pivoted finally in the last, not finally, but in fine fashion in the last 2.5, 3 months. And I think they're finding their feet with the new online system. I just got off the phone with a code official in Byhalia, Mississippi, where we're looking at a job. And he looked up some code limits for me that the architect and I weren't sure of exactly what was required. And I think that sort of collaborative effort used to be pre-COVID, sort of a, hey man, go Google that, was sort of the perspective. And I think now people have more of a heart with their mind, thinking, hey, this is someone's job or a place of work one day. Let me see if I can help this contractor, help this owner, help this broker sign this lease for this tenant to get a person I'll never meet in my life back to work.
Yeah.
And I hope that's sort of the heart behind the attitude.
Do you think some of that is just COVID in terms of people having more empathy and patience, but like you said, a desire to really help each other? Because now you realize that, wait a second, we're blessed to have a job, we're blessed to have projects, we're blessed to be able to do this. And so do you think part of that is just reframing now our what this world means in terms of relationships?
I think it's a huge part, because a lot of the conversations I've had with everything from subcontractors to suppliers to brokers and tenants is yeah, my sister-in-law got laid off from da da da. I mean, a code official saying, man, my father-in-law he was forced to retire early, and all the economic constraints, I feel like, are giving people an opportunity to see beyond themselves, to see the world for what it is, and not necessarily turn the critical eye, but more of the optimistic eye. And believe it or don't, in the times when things you couldn't think could get worse, I think people are really showing who they really are and showing their humanity, and it's been refreshing.
Yeah, I think that's a really good thing. It's just seeing the humanity, and yeah, that's awesome. Wrap up with contact information, because obviously for those who want to get to know Metro Construction better, but obviously have you help them on a project, where do they go to learn more and reach out and get in touch with you?
Well, my brother Matt has done an extraordinary job of building and maintaining our website. So www.metro-gc.com. The GC is for general contractor. Again, we're all commercial, so if you have a residential project, we can give you several referrals. But go to the website. There's our main phone number, and we can, any one of us here can help you. We're small, but we're agile, and we take great pride in that.
Yeah, about to say, and from small projects all the way up to the very large, you can handle them with ease and with care. And also too, I think for everyone, you are such a sense of and a source of just resources, because you and your family have been here for so long. You have so many great relationships. So I always think, if someone has any sort of question, reach out to you, because if nothing else, you're going to give them really helpful, good advice and guide them in the right place. So, whether it's a project or just advice, you're the go-to source. So Jeff, thank you for all you and your family and your team do. Metro Construction, greatly appreciate you being a partner as well, a longtime partner in cityCURRENT. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks again for having me, Jeremy.